Hello everyone, NBZ here, and I'm here to talk to you today about Nintendo's YouTube policies. What they've been doing, why they've been doing it, and a whole lot of nonsense in between. Because quite frankly, I'm annoyed, and I think it's dumb and ridiculous, but I'm not surprised. And I guess we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, why don't we start with where this whole saga begins with Nintendo and YouTube, which is back early 2014, maybe late 2013. They started copyright claiming the shit out of every YouTube video containing Nintendo content, as much as they could get their hands on. Now, mainly it was newer games that had just been released at that time. So, like, older stuff wasn't really being affected, and so people who were doing Pokemon, like I was back then, weren't getting too badly hit by it, because they were saying, oh, no, we're going for the brand new stuff that's coming out. And so, a lot of people were like, well, shit. Like, I'm not going to cover Nintendo games if they're going to just go ahead and take the revenue that I'm making off this and, you know, run away with it for no good reason. And you think about it, like, how much is Nintendo really going to make from revenue from YouTube videos? Like, think about the kind of scale and scope of their company, how much money they usually deal with in a business sense. It's fucking pennies. Like, it's pittance. The amount of ad revenue that you're getting just by content ID matching all your Nintendo videos on YouTube. Pittance. Absolutely not. So, like, from that perspective, it seems utterly ridiculous. Like, why would they even do it? And, you know, they make the arguments, you know, we have to protect our content, we have to make sure it's representative of what it actually is, because with Nintendo, we like to fucking control everything, like this fucking anally, ugh. Look, it gets me angry, okay? It gets me angry, and it's one of those things about Nintendo that I hate the most. But, look, let's get past that. What are they doing now? So after they did all that content stuff, they stepped back a little bit because people were angry and they wanted to figure something else out regarding YouTube so that they could, you know, get on and maybe make some good stuff out of it. So what do? Well, they come out with this new policy, which is this Nintendo Partners, like, referral, I can't remember what it's called, let me have a check. Nintendo Creators Program is what it's called, apparently. So, why is this bad? Well, if you sign up to this program, which I highly recommend you steer away from, they will take 40% of your revenue made from the video if you're doing single videos. So you have to register single videos, right? That's one option. Alternatively, you could register your whole channel, in which case they'll only take 30%. You know, okay, that doesn't sound too bad, right? From the outset, 30% of all the money you're making on your YouTube video is gone. Apart from that's not how it actually works. Let's break this down. Where does all that ad revenue from a YouTube video goes? Well, straight off the bat, instantly, Google comes in, takes half of the money. So any ad revenue you make on a video, Google is going to come in, take 50%. So already you're down to that much, okay? Added to that, if you are a gaming channel, which obviously if you're doing Nintendo content, you're going to be a gaming channel, you are going to have to be partnered with a network, you know, whether it be Machinima or Maker or, you know, Curse or any of these tons of YouTube networks. You're going to be partnered with them, and they, of course, are going to take a cut themselves. So what do they take? Well, they take between maybe 40 and 30%, sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on what kind of contract you have. So they're going to come in and they'll take that percentage. So you're down 50, okay, it's fine. So from that 50 you already have, the network's taking 30. Here's the issue with the Nintendo thing. The Nintendo thing is on top of both of those. So not only are Google getting your money, not only are you getting money taken away by your multi-channel network, but Nintendo are again swooping in to take even more for themselves. So what are you left with? Pittance. You're left with absolutely hardly anything. And, you know, for a lot of people, perhaps this isn't going to be a big deal, right? Not many people are going to be making the big dollars on YouTube. They're not going to be, you know, living their lives out of making YouTube videos. I certainly am not. You know, this is something that I wouldn't say necessarily affects me personally. But here's the problem. You think about all the big YouTubers out there and the kind of choices they have and the way that they're so personality driven, and they can, you know, there are so many video games out there that they can choose to cover. If Nintendo are coming in and basically threatening their livelihood by reducing the amount of revenue they make, why in God's name would they cover Nintendo games? They have no reason. They literally have no reason to do so if they can get the exact same number of views and the exact same push of content from other video games that, you know, publishers will back them on and will say, perfectly fine, you can do this. So what does this lead to? Well, it leads to all the giant YouTubers not covering any Nintendo stuff. And what does that mean? It means that Nintendo themselves are fucking shooting themselves in the head. They lose out on a huge audience, potentially, of all these millions and millions of people who watch gaming content on YouTube, who they could get to, who they could market to, freely, pretty much. YouTube is the best fucking marketing tool in the world, and I will have no other thing said against that. That is, definitely, no doubt, when it comes to video game content, YouTube is by far and away an incredible marketing tool. And you can say all you like about TV adverts and all this great stuff, but YouTube is where it's at. And if Nintendo lose that, they are losing a huge potential for growth. And they're in a shit place right now. You think about how badly Wii U's doing, how badly 3DS is doing. I mean, 3DS, okay, not terrible, it just recently hit 50 million units, but it's on the down tail, it's on the downtrend. If you look at the numbers from the past few years, they are tailing off, and 2014 wasn't good for the 3DS either. So, things are not looking good for Nintendo, and yet they are insisting on trying to take this money away, and trying to take this ad share, and it makes no sense. It's just insanity. Now, I know a lot of you will be like, well, whatever, Nintendo doesn't need YouTube. They have strong franchises that will sell regardless, Why do Nintendo need YouTube to sell Smash Brothers, for example, let's say? Maybe you're right, maybe that is a valid point. But let's think about what Nintendo have been doing recently and what they're trying to push. They have brand new IPs coming out. We've got Splatoon, we've got Codename Steam, and these are not known brands, they're not known names, and unless you're inside the gaming inner circle, you follow the industry, you know Nintendo, you know what's going on, you're not going to have heard of these games. So what happens later this year when these games come out and no one on YouTube is covering them? Okay, sure, you'll have small channels doing them because, that's what they do, and you'll probably have all... Actually, you know what? Here's the other thing. There are all those fucking Nintendo Let's Players who... all they do, this is their bread and butter, they upload as soon as a brand new game is released. As soon as a brand new game is released, that is their channel content plan, because they get loads and loads of views from new people checking it out. If they are not making a good amount of money on that, why do they continue to do that, Why do they continue to push day one on all these Nintendo products when they're not going to be, financially stable by doing it? So, there's another thing. But back to Splatoon and Codename Steam, what happens when 0 of these massive YouTubers say, absolutely nothing about these games and don't cover them whatsoever? Because, they're going to be basically screwed over. Well, Nintendo are going to lose out on a potential growth for new IP that they have. And, it's hard. It's hard to push things like Codename Steam, which is in itself a really weird and kind of unique kind of strategy game. It's hard to, push that thing, but I think something like Splatoon has so much potential that them kind of stifling themselves by having this program in place could really screw them over when it comes to that game. I mean, if you take a look at 2014 and some of the games that were released there, one kind of stands out to me as an IP that Nintendo hadn't really brought over to the West before, that not many people knew about, and had a really weird name that didn't seem like it was going to sell too well. That was Tomodachi Life. Now, Tomodachi Life actually sold over 1 million copies in North America. And that's kind of shocking, because it's such this weird, unique, strange thing, and you'd think, why would people buy that? But you take a look at the amount of coverage you got on YouTube, the endless Let's Play series, the ridiculous amount of people just covering that game and looking at it, and you kind of start to understand that, yeah, a lot of people were being pushed towards this game because of the YouTube content that was there. A lot of people are going to buy this game as a result of watching it. It's the kind of thing that you see and you're like, hey, that looks really cool and fun, and I want to play that. And, there are channels like the Yogscast, for example, who don't do hardly any Nintendo coverage whatsoever, but there's a Let's Play series one of the Yogscast members did of Tomodachi Life, and that's exposing their entire audience to possibly do not own 3DSs, who probably have never heard of Tomodachi Life, who are mainly PC gamers, and, we've got millions and millions of views there for this game that is basically selling copies. I mean, it really sucks, and Nintendo gets deserved to be raked over the coals for this, but I wouldn't go blaming Nintendo of America, I wouldn't go blaming Nintendo of Europe, because frankly, they have zero say in pretty much every decision. You know, their veto power is null. They are just puppet arms of the big boy NCL, Nintendo Corporate Limited, in Japan. And, you know, there are these kind of ideas a lot of the time. It relates to any kind of government that's currently in system that, you know, the countries and the companies, the big corporations of this world are run by old men. Old men who don't understand the internet, who don't understand the modern era and anything surrounding it. And yet they are the ones who have all the say. They're the ones making the big decisions. Like, you take a look at a lot of internet-based issues going on in the US, and the fact that they can't get anything pushed through properly regarding, you know, legal stuff when it comes to the web space. And a lot of it has to do, you know, frankly, with there being too many fucking old men in power. And that is an issue that will eventually disappear when they all die out, as is a natural course of life. But it's a problem with Nintendo as well. And Nintendo is run by very traditional, very old Japanese men. And you take a look at Japan in general, it's a very traditional culture. There was an interview with Dan Edelman, you know, the dude who used to run the indie side for Nintendo, he was on a leash a lot of the time. They pulled him out of social media. They didn't allow him to have interviews with people on Twitter because they were afraid he was going to, like, ruin their message or whatever. It was a whole terrible thing. But there's an interview with him recently talking about trying to get decisions through Nintendo. So I'm going to read a little bit of this to you. So he was asked, why was it so difficult to get things done at Nintendo? And he says, Nintendo is not only a Japanese company, it is a Kyoto-based company. For people who aren't familiar, Kyoto-based are to Japanese companies as Japanese companies are to US companies. They're very traditional, very focused on hierarchy and group decision-making. Unfortunately, that creates a culture where everyone is an advisor and no one is a decision-maker. But almost everyone has veto power. Even Mr. Iwata is often loath to make decisions that will alienate one of the executives in Japan, so to get anything done, it requires laying a lot of groundwork. Now, taking a look at that, you know, he's just talking about the idea of, you know, getting games pushed through and getting policies changed. And even on that end, when you're working internally at Nintendo, even the president has an issue, you know, getting through to some of these board members. And you think about, like, these are the guys making all the decisions, these are the ones who are going out there and talking about, like, it's just an inbuilt problem, and unfortunately, it's come down to YouTube, and now it is screwing a lot of people over. So, there you go. I'm really frustrated by this, I'm really annoyed by it, I think it's fucking obnoxious. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll try and get something a bit more upbeat out soon. I'm working on, I think I want to do a video on my kind of favorite indie games, like some indie recommendations that I can give. So yeah, look out for that sometime in the future. Until then, thank you for watching. See you next time.